All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our third week of the challenge, the Deal Challenge. Looking forward to talking to you all tonight. I'm here again with Matt Camp from Deal Machine.
Hey.
And as you come in, as always, we'd love for you just to say hello, introduce yourself, tell us you're here, tell us where you're from. And we just look forward to getting in. We're going to get into the meat of tonight's conversation here in a moment. I don't know, Matt, if you want to introduce what we're going to talk about tonight, that'd be great.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know you said good evening. It depends on where you're at. But,
that's true.
Yeah, you said Madrid now, right?
I'm in back in Granada, so I'm all over
gotcha.
the place.
Okay.
Yeah, we're living in Spain. If anybody's new to my story, so we're here in southern Spain, and my home base is South Carolina when I'm in the U.S. But we're on a sabbatical abroad for a year in southern Spain, so that's where we are right now.
Nice. There we go. Yeah, I'm here in St. Louis getting ready for opening day, so
there we
pumped
go
for this week. But
go Cardinals.
There we go. Go Cardinals. All right, awesome. So we're live on Facebook and YouTube here on the StreamYard. It should be live on Webinar Jam as well. I see people starting to jump in. Awesome. Welcome. As Chad mentioned, please go in the chat, say where you're watching from. And then really, I mean, if you want to jump in the chat as well and talk at all about the challenge and where you're at in your journey, that's phenomenal. Always love to get feedback on that. It was super inspiring to see the people who finished up the homework for this week, which again, this is definitely challenging to get out there and to execute on what we're giving you each week. Like it's inspiring to see the work that you guys are putting in. So today we're going to go through that. We're going to recap the last 2 weeks. If this is the first time you've seen these, welcome. That's all right too. You can catch up with us. If you're on the Facebook or YouTube, if you're watching on social media, make sure to go to coachcarson.com/challenge. You can sign up for free for the last live training, and you'll get all the replays. You'll have a chance to enter for this the final giveaways we're doing. We're doing 2 giveaways this week, so I'll get into that. And then today on the live training, the new stuff we're going over is how to really work your leads, how to really continue to follow through, to overcome seller objections, to turn that into really confident offers. So we'll talk about comping and deal analysis and all that. And, we'll assign that final homework assignment and go through that big, kind of grand prize giveaway as well. So excited to get all into everything today, Chad. So
absolutely. Yeah, we've got people jumping in there with us. We've got Ron from Seattle's here. Nicole is from Atlanta. Says she's struggling with different forms of funding, which we can definitely get to in the Q&A towards the end of the call. We got Dolly is in, from Germany. Welcome again, Dolly. I recognize your name from before. And then Andrew from Charleston, who I know. So Andrew, welcome. And welcome to everybody else. If you're just joining us, I see Tom in California, Farah in Kansas City. Please just let me know you're here. Let us know you're here, where you're from. And we're going to jump right into the presentation. We've got a lot of good stuff, juicy details on converting some of these leads that you've been generating, these properties you've been finding, how to actually turn those into a deal. So that's what we're talking about tonight.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I know, again, going through this too has been awesome with you guys, like seeing this many people take action. I know here's a couple screenshots of people who've reached out or who finished up the homework this week. We've been really, again, challenging you guys to get to that 200 lead number was last week. coachcarson.com/challenge is where you can register for the homework, for the giveaways, for all those emails. If you're watching on Facebook or YouTube, welcome again. Excited to see you. We've got people from all over the US in the chat right now. So phenomenal. But again, today we're going to be going through giveaways. We're going to be doing a recap in terms of the first 2 weeks and then get into the new training for this week. So just to kind of kick this off again, I know we've talked about this the first 2 times, but it's so exciting to see you guys taking action on this right now. First and foremost, just because real estate is the greatest wealth generating tool ever created. I mean, depending upon the market, you're going to be hitting each of these levers at a different intensity, but you've got everything from, hey, we're trying to build cash flow here. We're trying to build equity pay down where, our properties are appreciating. We get, the tax advantages of this. There are many different ways that you're using real estate to be able to build wealth. But right now, especially, is such an exciting time because, hey, anytime that there's any kind of slowdown, you hear the word recession, you see, bank failure after bank failure lately. Like there's a lot of this stuff in the news that people are throwing out there of, where we're at or where we could be headed. In any kind of time of uncertainty, us as investors are more valuable in those times. Like we're able to, and in general, our goal is to help solve problems for motivated sellers. People who we can offer speed and offer convenience and offer cash and offer these different tools to solve financial distress. And in times like this, like, hey, right now is a really good time to be able to bring those tools to people and offer that and go off market. So that's what we've been doing in this challenge. Now is the time to step up, take action. And that's what we've been trying to give you every single week is those bite-sized action steps to take to keep going in this challenge and to really, us look at the formula to figure out, hey, how many people do you typically need to reach out to be able to do your first deal and many deals after that? And that's really where these homework assignments have been coming from, has been setting those goals accordingly. Where most people do get stuck in that process, even if they know that real estate is that top wealth generating tool out there, where they really get stuck is finding that great deal. And that's what we've been coaching you through with this process, with this challenge, is giving you the proven playbook to go find that deal. So Chad, do you want to mention anything in terms of like the timing of this challenge too, or
Yeah, I was just going to mention, we're not doing a lot of current events right now. We're doing more like kind of the evergreen things that are going to always work. But I will say, even personally, last couple of weeks, banks failing, it just reminds me of the value of investing your money in real estate. I usually think, okay, bank accounts, you're good there, right? Well, maybe not. So,
yeah,
I think we are good in the big picture. But if ever there was a confirmation from me of all the different places you could put your money, real estate is the one I feel safest about to this day. It always has been, but last week, I've got some money sitting in the bank and I can't wait to put into the next deal because I want it in real estate and not in other places. So I'm kind of preaching to the choir. If you're kind of on the fence about it, lots of good reasons to invest in real estate. One of the biggest, though, which is relevant tonight, is you can control your returns. You can control your success by working hard, by learning to negotiate, by doing what we're talking about in this challenge, going out and finding deals that nobody else knows about. There's no other investment out there like that where you can control your own destiny. And that's what I love about real estate. A lot of people who get into real estate who I coach are kind of a little bit of a control freak, either a little bit or a lot, where they want to have their hands in it. They want to be involved in it. They want to be, involved. They don't want to be the past completely, press a button, invest in stocks, although I do that a little bit too. This is the opportunity to be an entrepreneur plus an investor. So that's a long-winded way to say you're in the right place. Like this is even in 2023, especially in 2023 with everything that's going on, I'm even more confident that we're doing the right thing. We're investing in the right way. And me living internationally kind of gives me a little perspective too, to seeing different countries and different ways things are done. U.S. real estate is prime. It's the place to be. And so let's be confident that we're moving forward and we're finding deals that are going to really help us over the long run.
Yep. Yeah. And what we talk about with this challenge too, what we've been trying to teach you guys, this is the playbook from, what Chad's done, what our CEO and founder, David Lecko, has done, what people like Ryan Haywood over here, we've mentioned him a few times. He took a 30-day challenge back in January 2020. It really changed his life. Like he launched a real estate business from that. He did his first deal 17 days into that challenge. So this coming week, is when he landed that first challenge or that first deal. He did 72 deals after that using Deal Machine in 2020, and then 400 deals since then with him and his wife and a small team. Like it's very inspiring to see people like this get out there and take action and change things based on the homework assignments and the calls to action we're giving you guys here. Enzo Nee's another one like that. He's a small and mighty investor. We're taking the playbook from people like this, where they are doing some wholesaling, rolling that into their long-term investing, rolling that into, flips and buys and hold. And he used Deal Machine to do this too. Antoine Ship's another one who just got started last year, did his first fourplex in August, and is starting on his real estate journey. So the people that we're pulling this from, it's people just getting started all the way through to the Ryan Haywoods that are doing this at high volume. And really what we've done these last 3 weeks is we've done these live trainings. This has been the third one. Again, make sure to register that coachcarson.com/challenge to get the replays for all of these if you haven't done that yet. With these live trainings, our goal has been going through the playbook, helping you overcome challenges, assigning homework, doing giveaways, all kinds of fun stuff the last couple of weeks. During the weekdays, I've been sending out emails, so make sure to pay attention to your email. That's especially important this week because this week we're doing, one giveaway for week 3. And then we're going to be doing a grand prize giveaway, which that's going to be worth over $2,000. Awesome prize for one winner here. And just if you pay attention to your email, you'll have a chance to enter. If you're getting involved with this, you'll have a chance to enter. And just make sure to look there and really think about like, hey, how is real estate empowering you? How is it affecting your life? What is your goal in real estate? Just pay attention to your email, and we'll get really specific on how to enter into that. But it's going to really tie into your overall goals, and excited to do that giveaway live next week. So if you are going to win that giveaway, that the grand prize here, you'll have to be on live next Monday on the actual live stream that we do at noon here. In order to claim that prize. So we'll draw it live. We'll be able to then, go through and see if the winner's actually on here. You got to raise your hand and claim the prize if you're actually on. But we will be doing it live, giving it out live, and celebrate live together. So excited to do that. Make sure you're on next week, same time, same place. So.
Yeah, it'll be a fun wrap-up call, and hopefully, spur you on if you've done some of the homework before, or even if you haven't. The purpose of this, and what I really tried to preach the first 2 weeks, is this is not just a passive sit back and watch it, which if you're here to do that, that's fine too. But we really want to push you, and my coach role here is to push you to take action, to do something. And even if you don't hit the homework numbers, like we've been really pushing you really hard to get some numbers that we think will make you actually do a deal. So if you get 100 each week, 100 leads each week, you're really going to be on your way to doing your first deal. But even if you only have time for 10 or 20 or 50, just doing something is how I measure the success of this 3-week challenge. So would love for you to really push it this last week, and then join us next Monday. We're going to celebrate and review and kind of wrap up some lessons here, some that'll help you going forward with your deal finding efforts.
Yeah, and that's like you said, Chad. I mean, in the end, are the homework assignments, we're giving you that playbook, we're giving you the steps to take to get to that first deal. But the real lesson here, what we really want you guys to take out of this is, go do that first deal, but take this, use this as a process builder and build from here, like build momentum, and whatever your end goal is, use this as a way to really guide you and do that first deal, that next deal, and however many you're aiming for after that. So we want this to be the start of something, not just a 3 weeks in a box trying to land a deal, and if you don't do it in these 3 weeks, then don't consider that a failure. But week 2, how we went through this, the homework assignment, again, like we mentioned, it's been 100 leads a week. And, the main reason being, hey, we know that if you get to 300 leads total, that on average, that's where your first deal is going to come from, is 300 rundown houses. We taught you how to go find those. We're going to do a quick recap today on how to find those. We're going to go through the week 1 and week 2 trainings very briefly here before we get into week 3 training, live on this call. But your week 2 homework was add another 100 leads to your list, so 200 total, and then get at least, or have one form of marketing at least to each of those leads, which last week we talked about, a variety of different ways you can be doing that. You've got, anything from like the one-to-one short-term marketing outreach, the call, text, email, door knock, leave a sticky note on the door, that type of outreach. We talked about long-term outreach, which can be like the set it and forget it, automated type outreach where you send a postcard, a piece of mail, something like that to them. So we'll get into that here too in the live training, but that was the homework assignment. Again, not easy to do, but we are pushing you. We're trying to get you out there. We're trying to help you take action. And if you're watching this and it's past week 2 and you haven't done this yet, that's okay. That the goal here is to help you catch up, help you do this, help give you that playbook of how to go execute on this. So we had people do this either by hand, submit it through a spreadsheet, or through using Deal Machine as a technology and a tool to help them go find off-market deals, to help them, really build that list and market to those leads. The training that we recap today will be primarily inside Deal Machine, but a lot of people did this by hand as well. And excited to say our week 2 giveaway winner, drum roll please, here we go. It is Jeff Odell. Hopefully I pronounced your last name correctly, Jeff. Hopefully you're on here. I'm not sure if I see Jeff live or not, but you win regardless, man. Congratulations, Jeff. We're going to be reaching out over email if you're watching this replay or not. Okay, cool. We're really excited that you took the time to get out there to build that list of 200 leads. You marketed to them in a variety of ways. You outlined it over email to me. That's our week 2 giveaway winner is Jeff. So Congratulations. You said Jeff's been on, following you for quite a while too. Chad?
Yeah, look, congratulations, Jeff, by the way. And Jeff has been on my email newsletter for, I think, at least a couple of years. And I do remember seeing him on there. So congrats to you. Really awesome that you're sticking with it. We'd love to hear more about your story, but you have been doing your homework. So congrats on that. And you're the winner. So Matt will follow up with you to get you the prizes.
Yeah, again, the prize was worth over $800 this week. It was a free year of Deal Machine and then $100 in free marketing credits to actually reach out, send mailers, skip trace and call. Like it's $100 of marketing fuel essentially. So we'll reach out, get you all set up there, Jeff. It's really cool to see somebody like that, like you said, Chad, who's been on it for a while, who's been on the email list. I haven't heard Jeff's story, but I think there's a lot of people in this who have been thinking about doing this forever and have just been kind of passively consuming education and content and been on your newsletter and all of that, and just haven't taken action until now. Like now is the time to get out there. In terms of taking action, we're trying to give you those very concrete steps of exactly what is the best use of your time. It's going out there and it's building a list of leads. It's trying to get in touch with those people and starting to actually talk about doing that first deal. So we're going to, again, go through the training today, show you exactly how to do that. We're going to talk through week 1 and week 2 of how to build that list and market to them. And then week 3 is really, today, the main live training, the new stuff is going to be how to work those leads, how to follow up, consistently, how to send an offer, how to, how to comp a deal, how to, analyze the deal, all of that nitty gritty stuff to help you go close that first one. So, awesome. Anything else before we jump into the recaps, the week 1 and week 2 recaps?
Nope. Well done. And let's keep rolling.
Okay, cool. And again, to be able to see all of the homework, each assignment, it's coachcarson.com/challenge. If you're on Facebook, if you're on YouTube, make sure to go there and just register for free. And you'll become part of the challenge, become qualified to be able to enter any of the giveaways and submit the homework and all that stuff. So cool. Well, week 1, again, our whole focus with this challenge, when we say, hey, go find an off-market deal, being the end goal, it's been driving for dollars as the strategy to do that. And, that's actually the number one strategy. People find that first deal, and if you look across the board for newbies, like that is the top lead source for that first deal on, typically. Chad, you want to mention like how you went about driving for dollars really quick too, just briefly for people? I know we covered it on.
Yeah. I love talking about this. When I first started 21 years ago now, I did driving for dollars, and it's my favorite way to find deals, but I did it very basic. I wrote it on a piece of paper, and I would ride around with a notebook like this that I'm holding here. I would take notes and I write down addresses, and then I would go back to my computer in my house, fire up the desktop, and then go look up the owner's addresses. I mean, it was a process that took 10 times more, at least 10 times more time and effort than I would have using some of the tools today. So I really am a big advocate, not only of this method, but also some of the tools that Deal Machine has to help you do it. But it to this day is still, as much as I preach it, as much as I know Deal Machine preaches it, it takes a little more effort than some of the other marketing than just looking on Zillow, looking at MLS. And that's a good thing, because you're in business, you're always looking for competitive barriers, to things that would keep other people from doing what you're trying to do. And the effort, the difficulty is always a good thing. The way I look at it, because if you can figure out a way to make it more efficient for yourself and make it easier on your time when everybody else still thinks it's hard, then it's a great way. It's a good advantage for you. So I think driving for dollars still is not saturated. It's still, even though we preach it, there's not enough people doing it. And so that's why we're talking about it. And I just want to encourage you, there's lots of ways to find deals out there. MLS is a big one, the multiple listing service, just listings from realtors, always do that. But driving for dollars, what we're preaching kind of in this 3-week challenge, is still one of the foundational ways to do it. I did it when I was 21 years ago, when I was 23 years old, still working today. I have students doing it. I still do it. Just a great way to find deals.
Yeah, absolutely. And then that's where, like you said, I mean, there's so many opportunities out there in terms of, just there's millions of transactions a year, right? And our goal is to help you be that next one. And, from a driving for dollars perspective, we took what you described there of doing it by hand, and David, our CEO and founder, he did it as well. Trying to get out there, did it by hand. Could be like a 30+ minute process to be able to get in touch with one person, and try to reduce that down to 30 seconds of just adding a lead and being able to market it in that way. So that's where we really inspired us on the Deal Machine front. In this challenge, we really talk about, hey, a rundown property, a house that has physical distress, is the most motivated seller. It's, the number one indicator that they could be motivated. So you're trying to find those above all else, above any other, factor, any other, thing you could filter out using data. And then secondarily, like, these are the least competitive leads out there because, hey, like you said, there is a barrier to entry. You have to go out there and you have to earn that list yourself. You have to go out there and drive around and find leads yourself. So you're able to separate yourself from the pack by finding properties that are kind of the diamonds in the rough, the hidden deals that don't always pop up on these other lists that people can pull really easily or acquire really easily. And, we want to give you an opportunity to get out there and just go find those and build that list as quickly as possible. So each week we've given you 100 leads as homework to build. How we go out and do that using Deal Machine specifically, you can do this again by hand, like Chad had mentioned, inside the app. Let me show this off here. Should be able to see the app here now. All right, cool. So jumping into this, we talked about, as you're driving down the street, this is the desktop version again of Deal Machine. This is the version that you see obviously on the computer. The mobile app looks just like this too, just obviously shrunken down, in terms of the map itself. But if you're on the drive tab right here, or if you're in the mobile app, as simple as that is it locks on your location. When I'm driving down the street, especially on the mobile app, it'll drive with me, if I'm driving down Wyoming Street right here. And as I look for houses in real life that are physically distressed, I'm looking for, the tarp on the roof, the gutter falling off, the siding falling off, the board and broken up windows, really obvious stuff, or maybe less obvious things like, it's really outdated. It's got a window AC unit, or, hey, I used this example last time, but Josh, one of our first hires, he went out there, he found his first property when it was a property that had Halloween decorations up, and it was like, now it was March. And hey, indicators that for whatever reason, this owner, this landlord, this person owning it just isn't able to keep up with it or doesn't want to keep up with it anymore, and built a list of those leads. So as you're looking for that, you drive down the street, you can see a green line here is my route tracking, which, over time, you'll just see a little green tail pop up behind you as you drive around on the mobile app. And when you make turns, that's a way to look at the map and figure out like, hey, where have I been? Where should I go next? How do I blanket an entire area? When you're driving down the street, all the black dots around you, those are just houses where, you can either do satellite view and see the house, how it would look, in real life like this, right? Or go to standard view and just see it in grid, grid option like that. And then every little black dot that pops up around you, those are all properties that if I drive down the street and say I'm on, Connecticut Street right here, and I see, let me zoom in a little bit. If I see, 3709 right here, or 3711 Connecticut right here. If I click on that, see that right in real life, see that lead on here, I can look and see more information about the sale price, the equity percentage, sale date, assessed value, loan information, more, like the mortgage, lien information, all kinds of data to dig into. But first and foremost, we're looking for physical distress. So if we, see it in real life, hey, it's, run down, see it on here, just click add lead. It turns into a blue pin right there. And then you move on to the next one. So that's what we've been teaching people is, hey, look for that, add 100 leads that way, build, do that over and over and over again, get that kind of investor cap on, get used to looking for this physical distress, build your list that way, and make it really simple and easy and straightforward. As simple as that was the goal for, week one. And, each week moving forward, we've had is 100 more leads.
Matt, I'm going to add one other idea, and I'd love your feedback on this too. When I'm in a small town, so I'm in Clemson, South Carolina, where I invest, and not only do I look for vacant properties in distress, but sometimes people are asked like, well, how do I add more leads to my list, or what could I expand that a little bit? And one thing I'm always looking for particular types of properties. In my area, I really like small multifamily properties, so duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, sometimes a 10plex, 5plex, things like that. So even when I'm driving around, if I see one of those, like particularly I'll drive through a single family neighborhood, and all of a sudden I'll see like a diamond in a rough, I'll see a duplex in a single family subdivision. I'm like, ooh, that's a property I'd really like to buy. And I actually own one of those that started with that kind of just driving down the street. Ooh, there's a duplex right next to all these single family houses. Isn't that great? And I sent a letter to the person. I ended up buying their property. I still own it today. So I just want to encourage people, like the core fundamental is look for properties that have some kind of physical distress. Maybe they're vacant, maybe they just haven't been fixed up as much as the neighborhood. But you can also, if you're looking for a particular type of property like that, don't be afraid to add those to the list. And I'm not sure if that's something you see users doing that as well.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, like you said, I mean, you can open up your criteria, however you'd like. I mean, we actually have thousands of data points you can tap into as well, where if you're on our pro level membership, you can use this highlights, where you click on highlights, go in, and then you can see, hey, I've got all these quick list filters. I can see vacant properties around me. I can see, foreclosure statuses, absentee owned, assumable mortgages, hot neighborhoods, senior owners, all kinds of stuff that you can just click on. And, if you say like, hey, show me all the properties that have a unit count of 2 or higher, is at least a duplex, and confirm that and apply those highlights. Let's see if there's any in this area. Yeah, there you go. We have a ton of duplexes around here. So 221 properties fitting around me, and these highlights are going to pop up and fit whatever data you put in there. So definitely recommend that. And I recommend using this to really figure out, and we talked about using this as a way to figure out what parts of town to start driving in, use this to kind of just very, high level say, hey, I'm looking for older houses. Let me filter by year built. I'm looking for single family homes. Let me filter by property type and put single family home. Things like that to really help indicate what are good areas to drive. And while I'm driving around, what does a good lead look like beyond the physical distress? So,
yeah, lots of different tools there. Well, there's other, you can dig into this, but just want to kind of encourage you to think outside the box there. And finding good deals is a lot about understanding what you're looking for. And so whether it's duplexes or free foreclosures or vacant properties, there's a lot of options there that you can start using to build whatever you choose to have, build your list with those criteria in mind.
Yep. And I will mention, when you do add a lead, when you're building that list like this, I would click on each individual property. You can look at the data if you'd like in terms of sale price, assessed value, that type of stuff. When you hit add lead, you'll see a couple options pop up inside the app. You've got this tagging button right here. And it'll, on the mobile app, it's really obvious. It comes up like right in front of your face there if you want to add a tag. But you can go in here and customize those tags and be able to say, hey, yeah, this is a really distressed property. I want to make this a high priority for me, which we'll talk about today, in terms of how to close deals, how to follow up with leads. These tags are really important to really help you stay organized and really know where to spend most of your time. And then, this take a picture button, I also highly recommend that. You can take a picture of the house, and whenever you actually reach out to them via mail, which we talk about, I'll do the kind of week 2 recap. The mailers that you send out, that picture that you take is what's going to appear on the postcard too. So that increases your response rate. That gets people, to pay more attention. So I also recommend that in terms of tagging and adding pictures to properties, to leads. Both those things go a long way. So that was something we talked about in week 1, and then final pro tip from week 1 before I do the week 2 recap. Was the virtual driving for dollars, which is something that you can do from all over the world. I mean, we have people literally in, other countries, investing using this. We have people who, one guy, Cody, who lives in San Diego, Sorzer, I think is how you say his last name, lives in San Diego. He's investing in Milwaukee, using this. We have plenty of kind of examples of people who have kind of gone the virtual route instead. But if you hit start driving up in this corner, and on the mobile app as well, if you hit start driving or you hit drive on there, virtual is an option that pops up on the mobile app too. When you click on that, you can click anywhere on the street, hit start driving, and it'll automatically pull Google Street Image into Deal Machine for you. And just really cool experience to be able to click for dollars like this, where same idea, like, hey, if we're looking for physical distress, awesome, cool, like, to use the advantages of that by using modern technology here, and Google being able to really show you what houses look like, and you can look at the physical condition of them, where if I want to click for dollars in this way, I look at the house, I can validate the distress level of it on the technology here. Here we go, can look at the house that way. And hey, if I want to, then add that lead, I just hit add lead right here. And just like you would in real life, you hit add lead and move on to the next one, and can even look, and then here's the tagging system again. And you can even look at data again, as you would in real life, looking at the sale price and equity percentage, assessed value, all that type of stuff. So that's something we've seen people also do during this challenge, is the virtual driving for dollars option. But that's something as an alternative to real life investing and driving around. Do this virtually as well, and can use the pros of looking for physical distress, but do it from the comfort of your couch too. Also, if you're going to go that route, I do recommend looking at when that last sale date was. So you can see this was 2012, and compare that to when the picture was taken, which this was June 2022, just to make sure it hasn't been sold since that last picture was taken, right? But most markets you drive around, you're going to see, hey, the pictures around me are mostly up to date. So hopefully that helps you guys. But Chad, did you have anything else there you wanted to add before we jump in kind of like the week 2 recap for everybody too?
I think we're good. I think we've had some chat going on about different types of properties you can look for, like land. Kristen asked about that. So we're kind of chatting in the webinar jam chat about that. And then had some other on YouTube. Austin had a good question about just what Deal Machine did and what its capabilities were. And Natalia was asking about analyzing deals. So both of those are something we're going to talk about actually later tonight.
Yep,
later today. Sure. I keep saying tonight. I'm in. Those who jumped on, I'm in Spain, and we're at 7:30 in the evening right now. But it's afternoon for most people, or morning.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of real estate too. Hey, you're living it out, and you can, you're investing and living all over the world. It's awesome. Exactly. So I have I put my email in the chat as well for everybody on the webinar jam. It's matt@dealmachine.com. Use me as a resource there as well. But as we go through this again, as you drove down the street, quote unquote, virtually here, you'll see the route that I drove right here. You can even look at your past drives this way and use that to kind of like track your productivity and track your goals here and be able to drive that way. One other thing is you can add drivers to your account too. So if you are on our pro level as well, you can have up to 3 users on Deal Machine here. Where for example, I have Elliot on my as one of my drivers, and he's somebody who whenever he's driving, it'll show me where he drove, how long he drove, how many leads he added, the route he took, and really just show you, hey, here's exactly he added 4 leads, drove less than a mile, drove for 11 minutes. And did that, and has been consistently driving with me since October. So that's the type of stuff you can also do as well, as kind of build that driving team and use that in tandem with your own leads. So I'm going to give that last tip here before jumping into the week 2 recap. Here, I'll give us a few more minutes for you guys. Marketing, that was really the theme of week 2 here is really how, once you've built that list of leads and you continue to build that list of leads and you keep adding 100 leads a week, what do you do with those leads? How do you actually reach out to them? How do you actually get in touch with people in a way that's going to stand out and really, rise above, other people who are trying to get in touch with them, other potential investors? And, first and foremost, hey, you are building the best list out there because it's your driving for dollars leads. It's, a list that you built, you earned yourself. No one else has that list but you. Meaning, these leads are much, much less likely to have other people reaching out to them, because hey, if it was a easy list to get, then everybody would do it and everybody would reach out and it'd be highly competitive, which, that's our goal here, is to help you find those hidden gems, those diamonds in the rough that are not being reached out to and as competitive. So with that in mind, with the quality of lead in mind, how you actually reach out to them, how you actually get in touch with them, what we talked about last week is really a 2-pronged approach, meaning short-term marketing outreach, like one-to-one outreach that takes some effort, that takes some, a little bit of you reaching out, or you putting some, a little bit of hustle into this, of reaching out through either call, I would put under that, a text, even an email, I would put under that, door knocking, putting door hangers on the door, a sticky note on the door, anything like that takes this one-to-one outreach. That's kind of the short-term outreach, that the goal is to get on somebody's radar quickly, start to build a relationship with them quickly. I'll show that inside Deal Machine, how to do that. And then we talked about with people, hey, how do you combine that with long-term outreach that you can automate? And the real goal there, with this automated follow-up, is that looking at the numbers, looking at the data is extremely important to stay top of mind with a lead. A lot of times you might have the best lead possible, an awesome list of the right people to reach out to, and you're just not getting in front of them, right place, right time. They might not be ready to sell for, a week, a month, 3 weeks, or 3 months, 6 months, a year. We have people who automate marketing to somebody and literally years later have come back to them and said, hey, I'm ready to sell now. And this is somebody, or this is a goal, a strategy, sorry, that can really scale with you, because if you use, especially if you're using technology to do this, you can send postcards to somebody over and over again and just set it and forget it, and really get customizable inside the tech that I'll show you here on how often you're sending, what you're sending, what it looks like. And when we look at the data, if you have the right lead and you only reach out to them one time, you're still missing out on that deal 85% of the time. If you send 3 postcards to them, so 3 marketing pieces to them, you're still missing out on that deal like 52% of the time. So to even be able to get over that 50-50 hump, put yourself in a position to win long term, you need to consistently market to them, stay top of mind, and when they are ready, when they are motivated to sell, that they think of you because they've gotten your postcard multiple times. You're on the top of the mail pile. You're saved in their phone. You're on their fridge. A magnet on their fridge, like what have you. You are the one they think of. So, Chad, but before I jump into that, do you have any other tips to add there on the marketing front?
Yeah, I think one thing we emphasized last week was just getting out there and being unique, being creative. Like my biggest advice with marketing in general is that the trends always change, but you want to be authentic. You want to be yourself. Mm-hmm. And my whole strategy is always, and still is today, is to be very personal. So my letters are always personal. Try to handwrite them or have them in handwriting font if I can. When I'm doing driving for dollars, this is a very laser focused list. So I like to leave handwritten notes on doors. I like to talk to neighbors. Again, this is the theme of like the more things you can do that aren't scalable, that some big company from Wall Street can't come in and like talk to neighbors. That's really hard for them to do that at scale. That's a marketing strategy. That's a way to reach out. So I found deals where the seller was really hard to find by talking to the neighbor, by calling relatives, by, the more digging and detective work you're willing to do with your marketing, the more effective your strategy will be. And it's really a mindset shift. Sometimes when new investors get into this and they're like, oh, they didn't respond to my first letter. This is not working. Well, you should kind of reverse that. Think about the other way. Oh, good. This is not somebody who responded right away. That means they're harder to get in touch with. I have an advantage here. I'm going to keep reaching out to them and keep following up. So 2 messages there: be authentic, be yourself, be personal. And number 2, you got to keep following up. You got to be persistent. It's like a detective hunt. It's a treasure hunt. You got to go out there and be willing to be persistent with it. Otherwise, it's really not worth your time and effort and money to do it if you're not willing to stick with it.
Yep. Yeah. And like you said, you're separating yourself from other people because, if they're putting up barriers, then, hey, not many people are going to follow up that many times. So,
yep.
Yeah, I love that mindset, that approach. And especially like you said, if you're doing this in person, if you're driving for dollars, if you're doing something that not everyone's willing to do, you have a lot of opportunities to take advantage of that. And if you see, like you said, if you see a neighbor, if you see neighborhoods where you can talk to people and kind of get the insight that other people don't have, and hey, is there any properties on your street that need some fixing up, or where's that vacant house that or things like that, you can kind of get the inside track that a lot of people are very willing to share with you, knowing that you're investing in their neighborhood. So.
Matt, I'm going to make one more comment just from some of the chat that I think will be interesting for everybody. On YouTube, yeah. Aaron was making some comments that he used the driver feature where you can add other drivers to your account when you do the pro account. And he added he has a construction company. So one of them was one of his employees. He added them as a driver because they're out in the community. He added his son as a driver. So just an interesting idea for those of you particularly those of you who are already out in the community doing other kind of work. If you're a real estate agent, if you're a construction worker, I always thought it'd be, if you're like a utility person who works for a utility company and you're out in the community, those are great ways to just be out in the community already. So that's just an idea kind of to take it to the next level, having other people driving for you, really good idea. The other idea that somebody was asking about, if you're a real estate agent and you're doing this, and should you be marketing to these people as a real estate agent client? Should you be marketing them as an investor client? And my response was, you could do both. This is really a very flexible marketing strategy. You're really just prospecting. You're going out looking for leads, and we're prospecting for investor purchases. We're trying to buy their property as an investor. But in the day when I was doing tons and tons of marketing like this, I did not have my license at that point. I got my license later, but I often thought if I had to do it over again, I could have added on another layer of business. If I had my license, I could have referred tons and tons of leads that didn't work out for me purchasing. I could have referred them to other agents who could have listed them and paid me a referral fee. So that's just an idea. That I mean, you need to do that, but this is an opportunity. Like this, the core part of any business is getting new leads for new customers. And that's what we're doing here. And so that is a big opportunity. It's an important skill to learn, and it's so transferable. If you're a real estate agent, if you're a construction work company, whatever you are, you got to go get new business. And this is the way we're doing it as a real estate investor. But this stuff works across the board if you're willing to get out and do it.
Yeah, that's a great tip and just great mindset and approach there, Chad. So, all right, cool. And I'll show this off really briefly. So inside, again, we're building your list inside, if you're using Deal Machine to help you out, it's on that Drive tab, or if you're on the mobile app there, the leads button right here, that's where, or that leads tab right there, that's where all of your leads are going. So whether you add them on mobile or you add them on desktop, they all come together right here. And, when you view a lead like this, again, we talked about the short-term marketing outreach and the long-term marketing outreach. Skip trace is how you're going to get phone numbers, how you're going to get email addresses, how you're going to get any other physical addresses, ways to reach out to people that way. And then, the start mail button, when you click on that, we did a real deep dive into that last week, to show you, hey, here's what the postcard's going to look like. Here's what you're going to send them. If you take a picture of that property, that's what's going to go to that property as well. Or that's what that postcard's going to look like as well. The picture that you take is going to be inside that mailer. Let me pause this so we don't actually send out the mail. And then, you can go and see, hey, this is going to send every 21 days. It's going to send 6 times. You can customize that sequence. You can customize how often you can send it. We give you about 10 or so default templates inside the postcard tab right here. The mail centers where you can really track that budget and really look at when your next postcards are going to come out, how much you're going to spend this month on mail, how many are scheduled, how many you've sent, all of that stuff. So we did a real deep dive on that last week on that mail tab and talking about, sending postcards to people to get in touch with them and automating that, as well as skip tracing. So that way you can do that short-term outreach in tandem with the postcards as well. So that's the recap from week 1 and week 2. Again, go to coachcarson.com/challenge if you're on Facebook or YouTube to make sure you get the full rundown of those 2 recaps. And you get the recording of today, and the recording of the last 2 will be sent to you as well. So make sure to go there to be able to be all prepared. And again, if you haven't started on this challenge yet, that's okay. Like if you're just starting today, that's all right. You can jump in, go at your own pace. If you can hit, it'll be really aggressive to hit the goals by the end of the week. But hey, if you can hit that next goal, you will qualify for the week 3 giveaway. And no matter what, the grand prize giveaway, everybody's going to qualify for, as long as you respond to an email as well on that list. So make sure you're paying attention to your email this week. And we're going to jump into today's live training here. So anything else I missed there, Chad, before we do this?
No, I think that's great. Let's jump into it.
Okay, awesome. So cool. Again, week 1, you built a great list and you're continuing to build that list. Week 2, we talked about that 2-pronged marketing outreach, how to do that, how to use technology to help you in that. Week 3 today, what we're going to cover is, all right, how do you work that pipeline of leads? Especially knowing that, hey, it takes at least 3 touch points per lead, ideally more, to really close deals, to really put yourself in a position to close those deals. Beyond that, outside of working your pipeline of leads, how do you overcome objections? How do you actually have those conversations with sellers and really respond to, what do you talk to them about? How do you respond to them? I know, Chad, you gave out a great resource for everybody last time on a seller script, and you talked about that kit of like how questions to ask sellers, and how to really have that conversation, how to really go through that information gathering. So that was phenomenal. Make sure to check that out. And I know we shared that link out with everybody, and contact me directly if you didn't get that link yet. So we'll make sure to have that. And then making confident offers. So how do you analyze a deal? How do you comp a deal, run comps? We have a comping tool inside Deal Machine as well. Chad, especially point 2 and point 3, I'll really ask you to jump in here. But do you feel like we're missing anything here before we show off kind of this phase of how to follow up with leads?
No, I think that's good. I think just the understanding that you're working your pipeline. Some people are asking questions about just making sure they understood the process. Like you're building a list, you're marketing to that list. And we talked a little bit about the different ways to do that, direct response to just going to their house and leaving notes, or sending out a series of letters. This is more about on the level of the 3rd step, is what happens when people start responding to you and you're having these conversations with sellers and you're negotiating. And one of the biggest ideas I have as a negotiator, there's all sorts of different nuances and experience you want to get talking to sellers. But if you're brand new, just think about a negotiation like doing a puzzle. That's the best metaphor that's really worked for me. You're just trying to turn over puzzle pieces. It's like you dump the big box of puzzle pieces on a table. And when you first start talking to somebody, all the puzzle pieces are turned over. You can't even see what they're like. And so a negotiation is just an information gathering process. And so if you remember that, you'll stop talking as much and you'll start listening a lot more. So just remember, you have 2 ears, you have 1 mouth. Keep that in relation. You should always be listening twice as much as you talk. And if you just do that, like, don't try to get over complicated here. Try to listen, try to turn those puzzle pieces over. And that's the tool that we shared with you, and we're happy to share it again. It's called a deal worksheet. And all it is just some blanks on a paper with the types of questions you should be asking sellers, with the types of information you should be gathering about a property, so that if you get stuck in a conversation, you can say, oh yeah, I want to ask, whether how long they've owned the property, how old the property is, what kind of repairs are needed in this part of the property. So there's just a series of pieces of information. But in general, negotiations about turning puzzle pieces over. And I think we'll get to in a moment, how do you actually then take it to the next level, make an offer on the property that actually could be accepted, that could be a good deal for you.
Yeah, I love that puzzle analogy. I mean, that's a great way to think about it as well. Is you're, like you say, you have an incomplete picture, and the better questions you ask, the more open-ended, the more information you gather, the more you can really understand, what you're working with here and how you can solve a problem for them, and then what a good deal looks like, through the process. So when it comes through following up with leads and making sure they never slip through the cracks, probably the number one process that we see is using a CRM, a customer relationship management system, where you can go in and if you just do this and stay organized and follow up, you're going to be better than the 90% of salespeople out there. Like that is where the money is made, is the fortune is in the follow-up. That is where you can really separate yourself from other people. And, inside Deal Machine, to show this off in action, you can do this again with a spreadsheet or what have you, but inside this, this technology, go to this leads tab. Again, this is where you're building that list of leads. I've got, 15,000 plus in here on my end. But as you build this list, every time you talk to somebody, you've got a couple things to work with. You've got a lead status. So you can update this to, when a postcard is being sent to them, you'll see it's with marketing. When that sequence is over, you'll see marketing complete. If you talk to somebody and you set an appointment, you send an offer, you send a contract, you're under contract, you're closing it, whatever the status of that particular lead is, try to update that to help quickly and just visually look at the leads tab and understand, where are things in my pipeline. You can use the filters tab right here to know, like, hey, let's filter by lead status, or let's filter by tag, so I can go to my high priority tags and know, hey, where are my leads that I really need to focus on first? Because, oh, by the way, these are tagged high priority. So I know, hey, these are the ones I need to be spending the most time on. And then as I look at each of those, when I view those leads, whenever I have these conversations with a seller, whenever I do start to collect information like that, use this as a way to really stay extremely organized. Like, inside each individual lead here, you'll see you've got this activity tab right here. Click on activity. You can do add and then add notes. And those notes that you send, you can attach documents. You can say, hey, yeah, this is an inherited property. This is, here's the situation I'm dealing with. They've got 2 kids. Here's the personal information about them. Here's each individual puzzle piece of the situation they're dealing with. What the house looks like, the condition of it. All the questions you're asking them. Stay organized here and just attach the document that you fill out that Chad gave you. To these leads, and make sure to stay organized this way. So that way, anytime I reach back out and have a conversation with, Garland here, I can just easily look at my past notes and figure out, hey, here's where I left off, and here's, what I need to ask next. And here's the next step of, the relationship I'm building with that person and the problem I'm solving with that person. So staying just organized in this fashion will put you far above many people as well. And this isn't rocket science, but this is like the basic blocking and tackling of how you build that relationship and how you follow through. The other thing is, that I mentioned, we've got in the activity tab, you've got notes, adding tasks. That is how you stay organized and how you never let a lead slip through the cracks, and always do what you say you're going to do. Is you click add task, you go in here and you can say, hey, yeah, I have an appointment tomorrow at 2 p.m. with them. I can assign that to myself for tomorrow. Great, cool. Create task. And I know when I wake up, I can just quickly go to my task manager and see that, hey, what do I need to do today? I've got this appointment today. Awesome. Let me check that off the list and go complete that and move on to the next task. So, using notes, using tasks, using filters to help you look at these leads, using lead statuses, these individual things, while, are a little mundane and a little bit, just minute in terms of the details, they add up, especially the more you do this. Like, though, every conversation you have right now will probably be pretty memorable, and you might be able to remember all the details of it and know what to do when. But as you do this more and more, and as you build a larger list, and as you reach out to more people and have more conversations, having this in place is a lifesaver, and is something that's going to help you tremendously. So make sure to try to do that, and really use this to stay organized if you're going to be inside Deal Machine doing this. So Chad, do you have any other tips in terms of like working leads in your pipeline and how you stay organized, or any other systems you use?
Well, once again, I used to do it just with a piece of paper. So I love that there's actually like technology to do this.
Yeah.
But I think the two things, like, this is a people business. And so part of what we're going to talk about today is just the art of understanding people, listening, trying to figure out what people's problems is, and then try to help them solve it. Like, that's the human psychological side of things. And there's a comment from Todd in the chat, which was good, that like, for him, it's just a numbers game. Like, the deal either works or it doesn't. And if they don't like my number, good, I'll just move to the next prospect. And in a respect, that's true. And on many cases, like, it's just a numbers game. And for you as an investor, it is just purely a numbers game. What I would add, that the psychological aspect of it is, we human beings make decisions emotionally. It's just a fact of life. You can look at the brain science of that, and it's really interesting to study that. But I have found, just practically speaking, that if you really want to take your deal making to the next level, that you'll often have those deals where you either take it or leave it, the number works or it doesn't. But there's a lot of hidden deals and negotiations that on the surface don't look like a deal. But the more you talk to somebody, and the more you engage them, and the more they get to trust you. And that's, negotiation is a game of trust. It's not a game of tricking people and doing everything. It's like, do they trust you or do they not trust you? And, people hold their cards close to their chest for good reason, because they don't trust you yet. And so the more they trust you, sometimes things change, and often things change. And as a real estate investor, my goal is to solve their problem. And, 1 out of 5 times, even on a good week, I don't solve their problem. 4 out of 5 times, I don't solve their problem. Like, a good week would be, I talk to 5 people and make 5 offers, and I get 1 accepted. Like, that would be a really, really good week. Mm-hmm. And so not everybody's going to be a good fit. But my goal is always to listen to their problem, see if I can solve it, and just focus on being a puzzle solver first and foremost. And the better I am at having tools to help them solve their situation, and tools are things like financing strategies, seller financing, creative financing, the better you get at that, the more options you can present them. And I found that a lot of those things that didn't look like a good deal right off the bat, the more you study, the more you learn, the more you improve your skills as a negotiator, as a financer, and also just studying your market. You start figuring out little opportunities. Like, oh, this street's a lot better than that street. And you have a little bit extra knowledge that maybe other people don't have. The more you know, then some of those deals that didn't initially look like a deal, you can then turn them into a deal. And so I'm happy to dig into that a little bit more, because there's some specifics we could talk about. But I just want to convey that idea that, one-on-one level of negotiation, the numbers work, they don't work. All right, that's important, right? You got to be like, you can't do deals that don't make sense. But the opportunity here with driving for dollars is that you are talking to human beings, and they're making decisions emotionally, and your job is that puzzle solver. And the more you can get into that mode of building a relationship with them, helping them solve their puzzle, and then getting good at being a real estate investor, that when I started doing that as an investor, it multiplied the number of deals I did by 5 times, 10 times. Like, I converted a lot more deals. I had a lot more fun. I had a lot better relationships with my people I'm talking to as sellers. Even to the point, I have an episode coming out on my podcast soon where I tell the story about one of the sellers who I bought a property from. The first deal I got with seller financing when I was 24 years old. They were ministers. They ended up being the officiants in my wedding, like, wow, 4 years later. And so it's a pretty cool story on the details of the deal, but just the relationships you build make this a really fun business. And driving for dollars is the biggest opportunity. It's so much different than MLS leads, where you never even talk to the seller. You're getting to know them, and that's an opportunity for you. It's a little bit more challenging again, but again, remember, our attitude is, the more challenging it is, the fewer other people who are willing to do it. It's a little bit harder. It's a little bit more difficult than just pressing a button on a computer. But it opens up an enormous opportunity to do so many more deals because you're willing to go there.
I love that. I love that mindset. You're like driving for friends over there.
Yeah, It's pretty much what it was about, right?
That's really cool, man. Yeah, so that's the goal. Is if you can stay organized and build systems around it, it helps you build those relationships and helps you follow through and continue to remember, like, what is that problem you're solving for them, and what is that next thing I need to do to help that person. So that's kind of phase one of that. When it comes to like actually overcoming objections, one thing that I want to mention here is, and this is such a limiting belief for people, especially like David, for example, our CEO and founder. He was really at kind of that analysis paralysis stage where he was taking in so much information and might be in the shoes that you guys are in potentially. Hopefully we're breaking through some barriers here with this challenge and giving you the action steps to get through that. But for so long for him, even if he got out there and he built a great list of leads, he would hesitate to actually reach out to people because he just struggled with feeling like he needed to know everything and feeling like he needed to be able to answer that on the spot and be able to know, like, hey, here's what to do next, and always have that insight. Where the real secret sauce is in this on-demand knowledge of, being able to continue to educate yourself, come to stuff like this, ask Q&A, and then be able to in the real-time conversation, be comfortable with saying, hey, I don't know, let me get back to you in 24 hours, or let me ask my partner and get back to you, or be just having that ability, or that giving you permission to be able to say, hey, I don't know, let me get back to you. And people are generally very understanding of that. And David, I know for him, he personally struggled with that a ton, and I would think a lot of people on here maybe as well. Just really knowing that you're gonna learn by doing, you're gonna learn by getting out there, you're gonna learn by taking action and having conversations. Yes, you should be educating yourself beforehand and as you go and all of that, but having on-demand knowledge to fall back on, having someone like Coach here to be able to talk to and really work with and understand how to get through that barrier in the next one. I think that is kind of the underlying thing that we see the most successful people have over and over and over again. So Chad, do you want to talk a little bit about any other advice you have on dealing with objections and this conversations with sellers?
Yeah. Nick had a good question in the chat, and I wanted to follow up on it, and I think it's related to this. So I think especially if you've never done driving for dollars before, one of the objections you might have in your own head is like, what am I going to say to a seller when they call me? Mm-hmm. And so I thought it'd be good just to give a little practical example of that. And so the good thing about what you're doing, when you send letters to somebody, they choose to respond to you. So like they get your letter, and I want to just like let you know that if you get 5 calls from sellers, at least 1 or 2 of those are probably going to be like, take me off your list. I don't want to receive another letter from you. Like just want to give you pre-warning, like that's going to happen sometimes. I've never had somebody who was so belligerent that it was just like, it got super ugly, but it was just like, oh, okay, thank you. Appreciate you responding. I definitely won't send you another letter. That's it. Get off the phone. So you're going to get a little bit of that, but don't let that negative stuff kind of get to you so that you miss out on the opportunities, which are the other 2 or 3 people who do call you. And so what happens when they call you, right? The good thing is they chose to call you. This isn't you calling out of the blue saying, hey, just calling in the somebody random number and saying, hey, my name is Chad, I'd like to talk to you. Although you could do that too. They are choosing to respond to you many times from a letter, or maybe you send a text message through, some of these other kind of services. What do you say when they first call? I'll give you an example. So Matt, you call me up and you say, hey, Chad, I got your, maybe you could, why don't you go ahead and do that? Like just say, hey, I got your letter, whatever.
Hey, got your letter. Was curious on, what you're wanting for my property.
Yeah. Hey, Matt, thanks for the call. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I sent you the letter. I drove by your property. I'm really interested in that neighborhood. And actually, I'm thinking out loud right here. Like, I don't remember exactly which property that was because I sent out 10 of them. And so I'll acknowledge that right off the bat. I'll say, hey, Matt, I actually sent a few letters out to your neighborhood. Would you mind reminding me which one it was? Because I just want to make sure I'm talking about the right property.
Yeah. 1234 Sesame Street over here.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, know exactly where that is. And yeah, I appreciate you calling. The thing, I am looking to buy another rental property in your neighborhood. I have a couple rental properties nearby. And the reason I sent you a letter was I like that neighborhood. I like that street. Are you interested in selling pretty soon here, or what's your situation?
I might be. It's it depends on the offer.
Got it. Have you already put the house on the market? Or are you looking? Have you listed with a realtor, or are you just like now considering it?
No, we haven't put it on the market or anything. It's just something we're it's something it's a house in the family that we may or may not want to list it, and I don't know if I want to deal with all of that of going through putting it on the market or working with a realtor for this.
No, that makes sense. So you own it with some other family members as well. Is that right?
Yeah, I went with some family members, and it's it's got quite a few, a little bit of junk in there. Stuff that we still have to go through, and it's not going to be easy to get in condition to actually put it on market. So
no, I totally understand. I've had a similar situation with my family, and we had grandparents who passed away, unfortunately, and then we had to deal with just the stuff first and foremost, and then so I totally get it. And one of the I will be happy to make you an offer at some point and tell you exactly what I could do. But if you're willing to do this, like before I could even do that, I would love just to learn more about the property and maybe just more about the situation. That would help me try to figure some things out. The way I look at this is actually a lot like, a puzzle. Like, if you have a puzzle, when you first start a puzzle, you have a lot of pieces that aren't turned over. So just the more I could learn about that, then maybe we can eventually meet at the property. Then eventually I could say, hey, here's what I can do. I can make you an offer. But in the meantime, would you mind just telling me a little bit more about this and this? So I'm gonna cut it off there. Like that one little segue I just took would then take us, hopefully that diffused the situation a little bit. Could you all tell that Matt was a little bit kind of short with me up front, and I was just trying to like ask some different questions and kind of, just ask some open-ended questions. It's a little bit of a dance, right? It's kind of a back and forth, but what I'm thinking in my head, I'm not trying to, if you're brand new, you might have a script. You use like the deal worksheet that I have, or you just write your own script down. But in my head, I'm thinking about two things. I'm thinking I want to turn over puzzle pieces about the property. That's kind of obvious. And that's kind of my go-to. If I kind of get stuck with a person, I go back to the property. How big is it? How old is it? What kind of repairs does it need? Those are the easy things to ask. Like you can just go down a list on that. You can always go back to that. The more important part though, for me as a negotiator, is what's Matt's situation. And so I hope you heard some like little nuggets there. Like Matt let in that he owned it with a family. He just kind of threw that in there. And those are called off ramps. If you're negotiating, like the main negotiation is I want to go on an interstate highway towards buying this property, right? But there's these little off ramps you can take where they give you a little family situation or a little personal situation. And it could be relevant to this situation, which that was. He owns the property with multiple people. I would ask more about who he owns it with. Maybe especially if they said, well, yeah, recently my father passed away. You'd want to actually be a human being and be sympathetic to that and acknowledge that. So that's the human side of it. There's these off ramps, the opportunities to take these off ramps, which are the most valuable part of the negotiation, by the way. They're the things that many investors, they just continue on at 80 miles per hour, ignoring every one of those off ramps and saying, what do you want to sell it for? Here's my price. They hit them over the head with a hammer. That's kind of like 101 level negotiation. And if you actually want to do more deals, and also it's a little bit more natural is what people normally do. Take those off ramps, ask about them, ask about their situation. And so those two things I'm looking for: property and person. Property and person. I want to know who this person is, why they're selling the property, what's their situation, what are they trying to accomplish? And you just try to do that in a conversational way. And that's the thing you just have to practice, right? And that's why you want to have a script or like a deal worksheet to kind of help you get through that. But that's pretty much how my conversations go. I'm a little rusty because I haven't done it in, last few weeks or so, but I've done thousands of those calls just like that. Some of them go really well. Some of them are duds where the person just says, I'm done. I don't want to talk to you anymore, and everything in between. Right. So don't beat yourself up no matter what happens with that call. This is practice. Like, you've never done that before. You're going to be stumbling through it. You're going to be a little clumsy at first. That's okay. But this is a really important thing to practice. Like riding a bike, you just got to get out there and do it.
Yeah. I mean, I love, one thing, like you mentioned, hey, even if they're short up front or they want to know the price right away, or they push you, immediately. Like, I love how you diffuse that and try to bring it back to the human behind the transaction. Right. So
yeah, that's the goal. Stuff. Yeah. And it's not always going to work. Right. Like, I've talked to some attorneys, particularly my brother's an attorney, so I like to pick on them, who are just like, getting to the point, man, I want to talk logic. I want to talk numbers. And if that's where they want to go, you go there too. Right. So I'm not saying like every negotiation is going to go there, but if you want to differentiate yourself, just like your marketing, be personal, be personable, be a real person. But then your strategy is turn those puzzle pieces over on the property, on the person. And that one little kind of technique of negotiation will get you a long way. And you don't have to, it'll get you a lot more deals than you thought.
Great stuff. One thing I want to mention, within Deal Machine, I know we can talk about how to get to that ARV number. We've got a comping tool inside it, but one thing that I know you're phenomenal at, Chad, and realizing your forte as well, is really evaluating and analyzing deals. So Obviously we could do an entire, crash course, a whole webinar, whole deep dive on that one topic. But do you want to talk through maybe a little bit of a crash course on this to give people the ability to start to analyze deals a little more effectively?
Yeah, sure. I mean, so deal analysis is something, if you watch my YouTube channel, this is something you can tell I'm a kind of a nerd at and I love doing. So check out any of my old videos on running the numbers. I have my little whiteboard. Let me get that out here. So if any of you know me on YouTube, I get this, this is a real whiteboard here that I draw my little clipboard, and I love to analyze deals for you. But I want to give you something, just kind of a very quick version that will kind of help you think about how to run the numbers, because one of the biggest objections I get from us as investors right now is like, hey, the prices are really high, the numbers aren't really working, how do I do this? And so I just want to give you feedback that there's two main ways that, let me take a step back. You always want to go into a deal understanding how you're going to make a profit. You are an investor. You're here to make a profit. I did all that negotiating and talking and understanding them. Like, that's one hat I wear. I'm trying to understand them and solve their problem. But you as an investor have to make a profit. And so who was it earlier was telling me, just the numbers, and Todd was. And so you as an investor with that hat on, it's all about the numbers. So what are those numbers? Like, how do you make a profit in real estate? And I'm going to make this really simple for you, because you can complicate it and get all sorts of formulas. There are two ways that I know, two core drivers of profit in real estate. Number one is income, and number two is equity growth. Income, equity growth. You could boil down all the formulas, all the analysis, all the spreadsheets. It boils down to those two sources of profits. And you could add a third in there. You could argue with me a little bit and say tax savings are another form of profit. I like to make a deal work without tax savings, because the tax laws change. You could have different policies next year, and that could change. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of icing on the cake, tax policy. But let's just look at those two. So every deal you go into, you should be asking yourself the question, how am I making money on this deal? Am I making money from the income, meaning I'm making a cash flow from the rent on the property, and the cash flow, that excess of all the income I have coming in is more than my expenses? I'm making a cash flow. So that's the income, number one. Number two, though, and this is actually where I think the art of deal making comes in. A lot of people understand cash flow, and that's something you can watch my videos on, how to figure out cash on cash return and net income and all of that. That's one thing. The more difficult one is a lot of deals make a little bit of cash flow, but they make pretty good money on the equity growth on the property. And so, and then take notes on this, and then you can follow up and watch some videos on it. But the first way you can make money with equity growth is by buying a property below its full value today. And so this is where the comp tool with Deal Machine comes in. That's really important. Learning how to understand value today. If the property is worth $300,000 today and you can buy it for $250,000 today, you're buying it $50,000 below the full value. You have equity growth built in. So that's number one. Buy a property at a discount. Yeah, go ahead.
Chad, if you want me to, do you want me to show that really quick here, or I don't want to.
Yeah. Before we move on, I think that's probably the core, strategy. If you're flipping houses, of course, you know how to do that, but rental properties as well. I think a lot of people miss the idea of like you can buy it below value. You don't have to buy it below value, but buying it below value is a big source of profit. So maybe you could show that tool just so people know that's available.
Yeah, for that specific number, and really, like, data is going to empower you to be confident as a newbie in general too. So that's where we want to really help you out and make this just anytime, anywhere on the go. You can comp these, mobile as well. Whether you have on desktop or on mobile, this comps button right here. We showed off obviously infos with the data. Activity tab was where we got the notes and tasks. The mail tab was the mailers, and then comps right here. You can see the comps tool pop up. Let's see right here. Awesome. Let me expand this for you guys. You can see this where if we zoom in here, cool. Here's my property, right? And you can go in and adjust the filters to make it, really, really specific to say, hey, show me comps that are on the MLS that, have sold within the last 3 months that, have this square footage, plus or minus 15% is what we usually recommend. Plus or minus 15 years in terms of year built. So it's a similar architecture, bedroom, bathroom range. We can adjust all of those things, right? Right inside Deal Machine. And then again, whenever you see comps start to pop up, you'll be able to actually hit this start drawing tool right here. And, if you want to really try to avoid crossing any major roads right here. So if I want to click and make sure that I'm in between, Kings Highway, Hampton, and Gravois is probably a good spot for this particular neighborhood. That's all like Tower Grove South area in St. Louis. And I can see based on that, hey, here's a couple of, 4 comps that fit that particular drawing that fit all of those individual filters. And then, I can select and deselect them on the spot. So that way you can see the estimated value going up and down dynamically based on the average dollar per square foot and average price of, of these individual properties. So you can do that on the go really easily, and even view, let's see if we have any MLS photos. You can even view photos typically if they were, let's see if they were on the MLS. This one maybe has some. Here we go. Yeah, so you can see photos on the MLS of, hey, here's what this property looked like. And if you get a lot of detailed photos, you can then also compare those on the spot too and use that as a negotiation point of, hey, yeah, this house was $255, but it's going to require, $100K of renovations to get to there based on these photos. So all that stuff, just want to break that down here for you really quick on, how you can use data to really be confident as that newbie and come into that number, that first number that Chad's talking about here. So go ahead, man. Didn't mean to cut you off too much there.
No, love it. Thank you for that. I mean, so part of this, as I was saying, is an art form, is understanding how to kind of evaluate the deal itself, evaluate the person. The other part is just being good at using your tools. So like this kind of tool, being able to evaluate the value on a property. If you're already a realtor, you probably learned how to do this. That's an advantage you have. But if you're not a real estate agent, this is just something you have to learn how to do. It's a really important skill. And you can lean on your team members early on too. Like even if you didn't have a tool like this, you could ask your real estate agent to help you run your values. That's an important team member. But just want to, this is going back to my evaluation of deals. Remember, you can have income, you can have equity growth. And if there's one thing you could take away from how to analyze deals tonight, I would just hope you remember and always ask yourself that question: how am I making money on this deal? Am I making an income? Am I making equity growth, or both, right? And within each of those categories, though, that's when you start looking at formulas and analysis tools and spreadsheets, which I'm happy to share some free ones I have with you. If you'll remind me, I have a simple rental property calculator that kind of goes into some of those kind of just formulas on how to do that. But let me dig in just real quickly, and then I think we're over an hour here, so I'm going to wrap it up and let y'all ask some more questions. But when you're evaluating equity growth, this is an important piece. You could buy it below value. That's the first way you can build in some equity growth. Number 2, you could force the value up on a property. And what I mean by that, this is a classic fixer-upper property. Like, let's say you buy a property that just needs $50,000 worth of work today, or maybe you could finish out the basement and add a lot of extra finished square foot, or maybe you could even, in extreme cases, do a major remodel and like add another extension to the house or something. Like, there's all sorts of like layers of remodels. Those big remodels, you really need to know what you're doing. Cosmetic remodels are the easiest ones. But by forcing the value, you might spend 20 grand or 50 grand and add $100,000 worth of value. And so that's what I mean by forcing value. And you can do it by fixing up properties. I have kind of more advanced strategy is looking at the land underneath the properties and figuring out zoning and density. That's kind of a 201, 301 level kind of investor tactics, but that comes into understanding your market. But the idea is that even though you pay $100,000 or $200,000 for a property, maybe today that's what it's worth, but by doing something to the property, you can increase its value. That's one of the, I would say, most common ways I make money on a property is by understanding that way to unlock value. And so that's number 2. The third way is just passive appreciation. And this is one, if you're a patient investor, I like to buy in locations where I've evaluated the market, the population's increasing, the economy is good, there's a limited supply of housing. And if you're just patient, if you just hold for the next 10 years in a market like that, you're going to benefit from some passive appreciation. And I've had houses that have gone up at 3%. I've had houses that have gone up at 5%, 6%, and not just houses, other properties. So that's another classic way to build wealth. Just buy and hold. I love that. And then the fourth way you can grow your equity is by equity pay down on your debt. So this is, when I learned about this as a new investor, if you could just hold on to a property and your tenant, even if you broke even, I don't recommend just breaking even. I recommend having a positive cash flow. But if you have an amortizing loan where a little bit of each payment goes towards the principal, if you just held on to it for the next 20, 30 years, you'd eventually own that property free and clear. So even if the property didn't go up in value, your tenant could pay that property off for you just by being patient, just by holding on. So That's a crash course, Matt. You asked for like to give it all. You can make money on income. You can make money on equity growth. All the formulas, all the spreadsheets, they just measure that. That's how you make money in real estate.
Love that. I love the simplified version there too. And like you said, you have such great content, really deep diving on this subject. So make sure to go to your YouTube, which will obviously if you're watching us on YouTube, you've already found it. But if you're on the webinar jam, we'll try to link that out in the email, follow-up emails too. But yeah, you put out great stuff on this stuff, Chad, as well. So wanted to mention that. Again, we covered working your pipeline of leads, overcoming objections, making confident offers here, really going through kind of that small crash course. Your final homework assignment. So everybody on here, let's wrap this up with the final homework assignment. And then, I can mention that grand prize giveaway again. This is going to be another 100 leads. So again, this is the whole goal, and really the magic number of how to get to that first deal, like we talked about, is on average, you see about 300 rundown properties marketed to consistently equals that first deal. So being able to go out there and get to that 300 number through this challenge, if anyone can complete this, that is, you qualify for that week 3 giveaway right here. So that is step 1. Step 2 is that consistent marketing we're talking about, which week 2, again, that was part of our week 2 assignment, was marketing your leads. We're asking you to do that again this week as well. So, get to that 300 number, start marketing to those leads. And then final bit is, can you make your first offer? Can you overcome that, that first jump here to be able to come through and make that a first official offer to a seller? If you can knock out those 3 things, you will qualify for that final giveaway. And again, we're going to email this out over email. It'll probably be Wednesday that we send out the reminder of all this stuff. But if you reply over email, that's where you're going to be able to qualify for the week 3 giveaway. So we're going to be doing that again this week. That's worth about $800 prize for that week 3 giveaway alone. So we're going to be doing that again for you guys. And then final bit here, the $2,000 grand prize giveaway is going to be live next Monday. So same time, same link for the live here. We're going to be jumping on doing the actual giveaway live, where you have to be on the live attending in order to win. So it's going to be one person randomly selected. We'll email that out again before the weekend as well on, hey, here's how to enter for that grand prize final live training giveaway. And then show up next Monday, be here for that, and you can qualify for that too. So, wanted to make sure that everybody knew your homework. Again, it's another 100 leads, so 300 leads total. Start marketing to your leads and make that first offer. You do those 3 things, again, pay attention to your email, do those 3 things, and you can qualify for the week 3 giveaway and the final grand prize giveaway. Be on here next Monday live to do that. So anything I missed there, Chad? Or
no, I'm looking forward to that. And next week, Matt will have some prepared for us to talk about, but also just bring your questions and let's celebrate a little bit. Let's kind of have this as a jumping pad to get to the next level for yourself. Like this is the idea of this challenge is to push you. Challenge is the word challenge is pushing you out of your comfort zone, into a new area of learning. So I hope this has been challenging. I hope it's something that is exciting at the same time. And I appreciate all of you being willing to be here and spend your time. You're busy. You've got a ton of stuff going on and you could be doing a lot of other things. But the fact that you're here to learn about finding deals, you're here to learn about improving yourself. You could not pick a better skill to learn than what you're learning right now with this call and with the prior calls we've done. Like if you had one thing in real estate investing that you just got really, really good at, because you have to make choices, right? You have a limited amount of time, finding good deals and getting the practical, tactical type stuff that you're learning in this call and in this challenge, just getting better at this is the number one skill. It's the most valuable thing I've learned as a real estate investor. And so you're doing the right thing. Even if you're brand new and you're feeling like you're kind of treading water a little bit and you're maybe in over your head a little bit. I've been there. I've definitely been there as well. Just take some baby steps, learn from it, go do these challenges. Don't have expectations that you have to be a phenom overnight. That's one of the dangerous things about listening to podcasts, which I'm guilty of this too. I share success stories on podcasts, and sometimes that can be intimidating. What I'm trying to do and what Deal Machine's trying to do here is just give you a process that you can follow, and it kind of gets rid of a lot of the distractions. Like get rid of the expectations, get rid of all the comparison, and just do the work, do the challenge, do your homework. If you just do this, it might take you longer than it took somebody else, but it'll eventually work. It really will. I've seen so many people, had so many students. I've done it myself. There's nothing like rocket science about this. but it is something you have to practice if you've not done it before. Just like riding a bike, just like learning to speak Spanish, which I've been doing for the last year here in Spain. You kind of, when you first start doing something, you kind of feel like you're bumbling. You're like a kindergartner again, right? And we adults have a problem with that. We all have a hard time when we're doing something new. And so it's okay if you feel that way. I just want to validate that and say, you're doing well. Just appreciate you being willing to put yourself out there and try this. And Matt and I can't wait to hear just the progress and the steps you take. And then next week we're going to stick around for questions here for a little bit as well. But just look forward to hearing your progress and those baby steps that you take this week.
Oh yeah. And that's on our end as well. I mean, I know, like Chad said, we're trying to break it down into that very simplified, proven process we've seen work. I mean, over 10,000 deals have been done using Deal Machine. Like, this is what we see are the commonalities between all of them. So that's our goal for this. The two bonus challenge, or the two bonuses for the challenge that we have been giving out, each week as well. It's that, here we go, dmcarson.com, which is a 7-day free trial to try it out. And then $30 free inside the app, which covers those skip traces, those postcards that we've been talking about here. If you're going to do it for more than just a few months, I'll put this up as well on the webinar jam, but it's dealmachine.com/Coach Carson. And that offer here, there we go. That offer here is Deal Machine Pro. So you can have up to 3 users, like, drivers with you, up to 50,000 leads by driving for dollars and virtual D4D. And everything we've shown you, like all the map features, the mail stuff, the CRM stuff, the comps, the data on the map, all of that. You'd have List Builder added in as well. So that's a great way to supplement your list of leads that are driving for dollars with a way to pull lists of leads as well. And then free marketing dollars, the free skip traces, postcards, all that stuff included. And then Chad, do you want to mention your course here, the Deal Finder course, really quick as well?
Yeah. So one of the bonuses we give when you buy a year up front of Deal Machine, just you're the person who's kind of all in and you're just ready to get this done, is I throw in my $200 deal finding course. And so it's sort of it's got some of the 101 level. Here's how you drive for dollars. Here's some tools that I've used in the past, but it's almost like a cafeteria list of different ways you can find deals if you're looking to kind of add more fuel to the fire. So I had some direct mail campaigns, some sign campaigns, even some referral campaigns, finding other local professionals to bring you leads. So just some outside the box thinking. That's what that course is all about. It's going to kind of take your deal finding and take it to an even higher level if you're ready to really go all in. So that's something I feel like if you're all in on a year of Deal Machine, you deserve to have that kind of extra education there that you get for free as a bonus. So I hope you enjoy that.
There you go. Yeah. And going through our site, it would be double the price of this. It's 50% off for 12 months. So make sure you go through that dealmachine.com/Coach Carson if you are going to go all in and do this for more than a few months and really commit to yourself, like, hey, go through this link. So here are the links, short links to it, the QR codes. I'll leave that up for people. But do you want to take some questions here if you see any there, Chad?
Yeah, so I've got Austin had a good question on YouTube there, and I think there's a couple other questions coming in on the webinar jam crowd. So if, we have a good crowd of you still around. So if you have some other additional questions, feel free to put those in the Q&A box. That way I can see them there. I think Dolly had a question specifically about Deal Machine. Let me ask that one first, and then I'll get to Austin's question. She said, will the 50% offer to buy Deal Machine still be valid after the 3-week challenge is over? That's a question for you, Matt.
Yeah, if you're going through the challenge, we'll be able to, you'll have that availability and you can upgrade to it as well. So,
okay. So for those so for example, if you went ahead and got the monthly deal and wanted to upgrade later, is that the question, Dolly? I think that's what you were asking. But this isn't something we offer all the time either. So that if you find it on the website or any of that through Deal Machine, there's a different price, there's a different package. So it's only when we do the webinars like this that we offer this kind of specific package. So that might have been your question there.
Yeah. And it is something, I know we're time bound on the challenge itself. We're going to try to keep these recordings up for people so that way they can go through it if they find it after the fact. But it is a deal we're at least offering for now. Don't fully hold me to it on if we're offering it forever and ever, So, if you find this a year down the road, may or not be there. But for right now, going through this challenge and foreseeable future like that, we're going to keep that open for you guys. So.
All right, I was answering a question. Ivan had a question about the deal worksheet that we referred to, and I think you put a link to my deal. It's called my real estate toolkit, and within that toolkit, there's my deal worksheet along with a lot of other goodies. So, Matt, if you don't mind, when we send our email out, we'll put that in again. So, Ivan, if you didn't get it, if you weren't on the email last time, you're on this webinar and you're on the Deal Machine webinar, you'll be able to get a link to that. So we'll send it to you.
There it is.
All right. So Austin had a question, and there might be more details that I can get into, like just follow-up questions, Austin. But I think your general question was, which other people are probably in similar boats. It says, I'm a first-time home buyer looking to house hack a 4-bedroom, 3-bath property. And he's trying to figure out like what kind of financing he should get. He could get a VA loan, which is an amazing loan to get. You can get no money down or very little money down. Or you could do, or should I put more money down to decrease my loan payment? And this, the general situation Austin said is when he runs the numbers, he could have a cash flow of $150 to $200 per month if he put $50,000 down on the $230,000 home. But if you put no money down, it won't be able to cash flow. And so equity is important, but also so is cash flow. So I think it's kind of a question: should I tie up my $50,000 into property, or should I save that money for something else? And it's my impulse. Typically, like what I do is, like when I first started investing, I didn't have much money, and so I had to be a little bit more aggressive, and I had to do some low money down, no money down kind of stuff. So like that's, everybody's got to get started somewhere. So I understand why sometimes that's something you need to do. I also think though, the more cash flow you have, the more protected you are down the road. Like $150 to $200 a month isn't, that can evaporate pretty quickly too. If you have a bad month, if you have some vacancy, having zero cash flow, that could work if you put that $50,000 aside in a reserve account and you didn't touch it, and you'd have that $50,000 kind of as a reserve. That would make me feel a little more warm and fuzzy about putting no money down. But the risk is that $50,000 gets spent on the next property, right? And now you got 2 properties, and both of those are low money down, and you're getting really highly leveraged without a lot of reserve money. And reserves are the things that got me through the Great Recession in 2008, 9, and 10. So I like having conservative financing. I understand I did a lot of low money down, no money down early in my career. So I'm game with that. And I understand you have to take a risk and a chance, but just knowing that it is a risk. And I think the question I would put back on you, Austin, is this is a personal finance game. And so personal means you got to know what makes you sleep at night. And if you have a partner or a spouse, you got to like consult with them and say like, what makes you sleep well at night? And typically the more conservative you are early on, the better, because you just don't want things to go badly on a first deal. Like I would be, as a coach for you, like we were doing one-on-one coaching, I would be more okay with you having to take longer to do your second deal because you used all your money and you're having to save up more money than I would be you putting yourself in a risky position. Like I would always lean on like taking a little bit longer to achieve my goals because I'm being more conservative than I would being over aggressive. And so the answer to your question is back on you, like which one of these paths makes me feel more secure. And either one I could be okay with, but I would just caution you with the no money down, low money down one. You want to have reserves. Like you just got to, if you're getting into a deal with little money down and you're house hacking it, that could be okay. Like you could rent out those extra bedrooms, you could have some extra cash flow there, but it's tight, and it could take you a while to get your money back. And if you had a big, lost your job, some things happened badly, that zero cash flow could turn into negative cash flow. And that's when a property becomes an alligator that eats your money, and that's a bad situation to be in. So setting yourself up for success, the better route, the more conservative route would be put more money down, but also don't put so much money down that you use up all your cash and you have no cash reserves. Like I like to at least have 3 months of expenses, like all my taxes, my insurance, my mortgage payment, any kind of maintenance, whatever those total numbers are, multiply that times 3 at a minimum. So that might be like $5,000 kind of at a minimum, maybe $10,000 if you're brand new. You don't want to have like no money in the bank, no money down. That's a recipe for having some problems. So it's kind of a cash management question in addition to like getting started question. Mm-hmm. But those are some of my random first thoughts, Austin. Hope that's helpful for you.
Good questions.
All right. Let's see. So we still have some people on YouTube, and we also have a lot of people on Webinar Jam. So let's see if there's any other questions. Dolly said, thank you for answering that question. We had a question on financing from Kristen. So her question was regarding the next step, financing. How can we learn more about seller financing and creative financing if we don't have the money? Also, how do you feel about buying into a partnership, or would you only buy on your own? So kind of a couple questions within the question there. I put a link both in the YouTube Facebook group and also to the Webinar Jam folks with an article that I wrote in a podcast episode and a YouTube video. So I did multiple pieces of content on seller financing, how to buy properties with seller financing. So I hope that's helpful for you. Check that out and kind of go deep on that. It's an art form. A lot of what I talked about tonight with negotiating applies to seller financing, because you have to get to know someone better. You have to build trust with a person before they're willing to seller finance it to you. So I found that a lot of investors and a lot of traditional investor advice doesn't work with seller financing because they haven't learned how to unlock the human side of the deal. And so seller financing is very interesting. I've bought a lot of properties with seller financing. It's one of the biggest opportunities today, I think, as interest rates have gone up, to find people who either own the property free and clear or doing other creative deals like lease options or subject to the mortgage. A lot of opportunities out there if you learn how to unlock seller financing. So check out that resource that I sent. Your other question, Kristen, was about partnerships. And I do think done well, partnerships can be a good way, especially early on, to get into the game. So I'll give you like the devil's advocate and the angel's advocate of that situation. The devil's advocate is you want to be really careful with partnerships. You almost want to be more careful getting into a partnership as you would getting into a marriage, because there's not all the, the other benefits of the marriage. You get the partnership, you're in the deal with them. And if it goes bad, it goes really bad. So you just want to be super slow to get into a partnership with somebody. Make sure this is somebody you trust. Make sure this is somebody whose goals align with yours. Make sure you don't just jump into it quickly. Take your time with it. But that being said, I've had a 50-50 partner for my entire 21 years of my business. So I love partnerships. They've worked really well for me. I've done that partnership with him on a business level, not on a deal level. We have done the whole business together, and that's worked well for me. But I've also done deals with people, especially early in my career, doing creative partnerships where they put the down payment on the deal, we brought the deal, and then we figured out a way to split the profits that way. And if you search on my YouTube channel for credit partnerships, that's a kind of a creative way that you can use other people's credit and down payment to do deals. And it's something I did a lot of early in my career. So I have no problem with that conceptually. Given my devil's advocate kind of advice, just make sure it's somebody you are really vet highly before you do a deal with them. And maybe even then do one deal with them before you get into a long-term kind of partnership, just to make sure it works out, make sure your interests align. Even a good friend, you might not be a good business partnership with them. So you just want to be careful on that. But partnerships are great. I think the more you can share the pie that you have, which is your real estate investing deal, with someone else, it allows you to do more deals. Like, I have a piece of the pie, you have a piece of the pie, we share the pie together. And what you have is a deal. What somebody else has might be the money, and you can together buy that pie that you wouldn't be able to buy otherwise. Like, either one of you would have had a deal, and now you can put your resources together, the deal, the money, and some great things can happen when you open up those kind of creative partnerships, seller financing, lease options. All of those options kind of fit into that category. All right. So Cameron was asking a question. What's your thought on using other people's money? So I think I was kind of talking about that just now. I'll add in there, though, that's something I didn't mention. The number one way that I've bought deals in the last 21 years is using private money. So not just seller financing, not just subject to, not just bank loans, but going to individuals who either they had the money in the bank account, or more commonly, they had money in a self-directed retirement account. That was the thing that unlocked more deals than anything else. Was I learned I would go to real estate investor meetups, and I would find the people who were kind of passively just trying to be in the business. They weren't out finding deals like I was. They weren't doing the driving for dollars like all of you were doing, but they had $200,000 sitting in their retirement account, making 0% or 3% or whatever they're making in the bank. And so I would talk to them about loaning the money to me on my real estate deals. And early on, I paid them 10% interest for my deals. I was flipping houses and kind of buying and selling. Later on, when I started doing more rental properties, I started paying them 6% interest. And lately, in the last few years, I've even paid some of my private lenders 4.5% interest as I've built more relationships with them. But anywhere in between there, 4.5%, 6%, 10%, you can find a lot of people who would love to do deals with you and loan you money as a private lender. And you can get one or two of those relationships going. That could be something that could unlock a lot more deals for you as well. It's not as easy to find those people as you would going to a bank. But my advice would be to start going to real estate meetups, Bigger Pockets meetups, real estate investor associations, other meetups, and just meet people. You're not going there automatically saying, do you have money? You're just meeting other investors and listen for people who have money but don't have deals. and preferably like the more experienced investors, the people who've been doing it for a while, but they're just like ambitiously lazy. They don't want to do any more deals themselves, but they have money. And I find myself more and more in that category lately. I'm sitting in Spain doing my thing, and I've invested with other people, in my local market and people I've kind of vetted. So there's people out there like me in your market who you can find and do deals with.
Nice. I was going to mention really quick here, Chad. Chris had a good question. And I think this is the last question that I could find at least so far.
Okay.
Chris had asked around hiring drivers. Like, what do you pay a driver if someone's going to go out and build a driving for dollars list for you, inside Deal Machine? Building a driving team could be a whole follow-up deep dive training for sure. But under payment, what we've seen work most often is if you could do an hourly rate and compare it to like what an Amazon driver would make locally, that type of job where they're driving around already. Typically you're looking around the $20 an hour range. If you can have somebody consistently, do that, drive for you and pay them at that rate, that's what we've seen work most often, have the least amount of turnover. We have seen people pay per lead or pay per deal, like give them a piece of the deal or, whatever, $500 check or what have you for a deal. Those can work too, but what we've seen stick or have drivers stick around longest is when they are paid per hour and comparable in that way. So,
yep. I haven't done it lately, but I like the hourly rate too. I think it's a good way to start, see how reliable they are. I used to do, I had a kind of a bird dog system where people were out finding deals for me without Deal Machine. I wish I would have had it again at the time. I had them, get this, I had them taking Polaroid pictures, Matt, and stapling it to my deal worksheet, the same deal worksheet that everybody has here. And they had to turn in the Polaroid picture with the sheet, and they had to give me 10 leads, a stack of 10 pieces of paper with Polaroid pictures, and I would pay them $10 per piece of paper.
That's
and
awesome.
So they gave me 10 pieces of paper. I'd give them $100. And so that's another way you could do it. You could pay per lead. And maybe you don't do $10, maybe you do $5. It depends on how valuable it is. Depends on how good you are at converting them to deals, but I like the simplicity of that cash up front model, either by the dollar, by the hour, or by the piece, by the deal, by the lead, because it's just simple. The people who are doing the driving for you probably like the cash flow up front, and you start getting complicated with deals on the back end. You have real estate licensing issues. You have just tracking issues. It just gets more complicated. The more simple you can keep your business, the better. And so I like both of those options.
I think that's it. I'm looking at all the chats. So.
All right. We must have just exhausted every question, Matt. Well done.
Great, man. I always have a good time with you, and your audience in general is asking great questions. Like, you guys are clearly excited to get out there, excited to complete the homework. Like, again, pay attention via email for the giveaways this week and the grand prize giveaway. And you have to be on live next Monday, same time, to claim, if you win the grand prize giveaway, you got to be live to claim it. And then the homework this week, again, we want to get up to 300 total leads. So 100 each week, 300 total leads, start marketing to them and make that first offer. So anything else I'm missing there?
No, that's awesome. Again, we're pushing you with that challenge. And if you can do that, you're going to be well on your way to doing your next deal. Like, for everybody who's listening to that, that's the simple formula we're talking about earlier. If you can get 300 leads on your list, if you can learn how to start consistently marketing to them, and then the art form of learning how to talk to people, practice and negotiating, this is it. Like, this is the mechanics of a real estate investing acquisitions business. And you've got it right here. The last 3 weeks, these are the basics. But now you just got to go do it. So just really encourage y'all to go out and take some action. Even if you're brand new this week, you didn't listen the first 2 weeks, go out and just challenge yourself to do it for 2 hours. Drive for dollars for 2 hours, 3 hours. If you've already got some leads, challenge yourself to send out 10 letters, send out 100 letters. Like, get those letters out the door, make those calls. This is how you do the deal. So if you've been on the fence and like, how do I get a deal done this year? Like, this is it. This is your opportunity. And we'll meet next week. And happy to, if you have made some offers on some deals, if you have some questions, if you got some sellers who called you and you're like, what do I do now, coach? Like, how does this work? Next week would be a good time to join us again. I'll be happy to give you some coaching, give you some feedback, and Matt can give you some feedback on the Deal Machine side. And we're here to help you. We're here to help you do deals. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm motivated to be on these calls with you, because I get a high off of your success. Like, your progress is how I measure this thing working. So would love to hear from you and see you next week as we kind of wrap things up for the challenge.
Yeah. Same time, same place. I'm looking forward to it. In the meantime, happy deal finding, guys.
All right. See you soon.
Thanks.